Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. I'm great again. This article was submitted by an anonymous person name out there. This article was in the Times of Israel by a very reputable author. Before the Holocaust, Ottoman Jews supported the Armenian Genocide's architect. This is from the Times of Israel on September 7th. This article, let me go into that real quick. The author is Hans-Lucas Kieser, and he says that a desperate Zionist press praised the empire even during the slaughter of its minority population, something that Israel is continuing today. So, and he's written a book about it, and I'll go into that book in a second. So this guy seems to be a pretty important historian. And we're going to go into it. There's a lot of people within Israel, Israeli professors and other people who are like, it's preposterous that Israel won't recognize the Armenian Genocide. So the Armenian Genocide happened during World War I at the hands of the Ottoman, which is now the Turkish government. And it was even, the Nazis said, I think it was even Goebbels that said, we looked at what the Ottoman Empire did to the Armenians as a template for how we were going to handle the genocide of the Jews. And the fact that Israel won't acknowledge a genocide is really, it shows you how crazy times are that we're in right now. Because of Israel's complicated on-again, off-again diplomatic relations with regional powerhouse Turkey, it hasn't been able to do what many Israelis have ethically wanted to do, publicly recognize the Armenian Genocide in the Knesset. Professor Hans-Lucas Kieser tells the Times of Israel from his office at the University of Newcastle in Australia. Last year, Kieser was awarded the President of Republic of Armenia Prize for his significant contribution to the history of the Armenian Genocide. He has also recently published a book, Talaat Pasha, Father of Modern Turkey, Architect of Genocide. That was the leader of Turkey, I believe, during that time. And why this is significant is America, the United States, won't recognize the Armenian Genocide either. Obama, when he was senator and was starting to run, was thinking about running for president in 2008, went to a lot of Armenian churches and said, if you elect me, I will do this. I will. And a lot of Armenians got behind him, and then he bailed on him, of course. Because, oh, we need Turkey in the region and blah, 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 petrodollar, oil, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's the summation of all of the blah, blah, is just, oh, we need Turkey. We have military bases in Turkey. We need them there. And of course there was a journalist, and I did an article about this, Serena Shim, who found out that we were funneling ISIS through one of our bases in Turkey, because Turkey is they share a border with the northern part of Syria. So, ISIS that we're supposedly fighting against, that we're actually backing in our bullshit regime change war for the petrodollar in Syria, yeah, we went through Turkey. So we need Turkey to funnel people that are supposedly terrorists and hate America and let them go through our base in Turkey to go fight Assad. This isn't complicated at all, right? This isn't what Benjamin Franklin was talking about when he said, beware of foreign entanglements, right? This doesn't get convoluted at all. We should just do the right thing, which is get off of oil, recognize the Armenian Genocide, and stop doing business with ISIS. Well, we can't do that, though. Armenian intellectuals in Constantinople, today's Istanbul, were rounded up on April 24th, 1915, followed by the systematic extermination of 1.5 million people. Just so you know, April 24th every year is Armenian Genocide, I believe they call it Armenian Genocide Recognition Day. So every April 24th. I've done videos on April 24th in the past. The ideological motivated genocide took place under the supervision of the Committee of Union Progress, CUP, led by three de facto leaders of the Ottoman Empire at the time: Ismail Enver, Ahmad Demir, and Talat. Collectively, all three were known by their military titles as the Three Pashas. And this is, know how a country that suffered a Holocaust can not recognize, unless Israel's just like, well, we're the only Holocaust, we're the only genocide that we're ever going to acknowledge, because then if we acknowledge other ones, then we lose our footing or something. I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it in terms of Israel. It's all about army, the military, and the United States, and Kieser's book, over 400 pages long, makes for tough reading at points, especially as the historian recollects the systematic murder of Armenian Christians. He notes, for example, that the removal of Armenians from Eastern Asia Minor mainly took place from May to September 1915, where women and children endured starvation, mass rape, and enslavement on their marches towards death. We need to acknowledge these things. We need to acknowledge this. The United States needs to acknowledge the full-on genocide of Native Americans, the genocide of African slaves. We need to acknowledge these things. Not acknowledging them doesn't make them go away. Right? We need to acknowledge America was founded on genocide and slavery. You know? We need to do that. Professor Yehuda Bauer, a leading Israeli historian and academic advisor to the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, said in a June radio interview that the Israeli parliament's failure to recognize the Armenian genocide was a betrayal. See, thank God. This is a guy who sounds like he just wants to do the right thing. Israelis, this is the thing I talk about. This is the biggest problem we face, not just in America, but in the world. This support my team no matter what, this tribalism. Well, I'm an Israeli or I'm Jewish, so I'm not going to speak out about it. No, you should. This guy knows. He works at a Holocaust museum. He knows that it is a betrayal. You're morally bankrupt if you're going to sit there and talk about your Holocaust, but not somebody else's. He is an Israeli historian who says this isn't right. I don't need to be Armenian to know this is wrong. I don't need to be Native American to know that was wrong. I don't need to be Jewish to know that the Holocaust that the Nazis did was wrong. Me being critical of Israel does not make me anti-Semitic. I hate anti-Semitism. It's awful. It's scary. It's bad. And it's not right that Israelis shoot unarmed Palestinians. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right. I'm a straight white male. It ain't right that unarmed black men are getting shot by the cops and then police are getting acquitted. Finally, that woman who walked into the wrong apartment, walked into another man's apartment and shot this guy, is actually, boy, she's been dismissed from being a cop. Will she go to jail? We don't know. That just happened. That just happened. No, I don't hate Israelis. I don't hate cops. I don't hate America. I want to see it great. I want to see America, the idea of America, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. These are perfect ideas. It just hasn't been implemented. And hats off to anybody that speaks that. I don't know how you can see this and not see, like other Israelis can't look at this and go, this is wrong. I don't know how you can sit there, be all defiant, support Israel, and then just turn a blind eye to this. I don't know how you can do it. Kieser is keen to emphasize that some historical context is needed. This was a crucial turning point in Jewish history. Before the Balfour Declaration was announced in 1917, Jews were looking for diplomatic favors from a myriad of countries wherever they could find them in the hopes of securing Zionism's ultimate goal, a Jewish state in Palestine. Consequently, a number of Jewish newspapers purposely tried to promote relations between Talaat and Jewish politicos and diplomats within the dying Ottoman Empire. They even grossly exaggerated these relations for propaganda purposes, the Kieser says. All right, that's fair. Being a good historian, give it some context. There was no Jewish state at that point. Right? They did some things that they thought were politically convenient that now we look at and go, this was awful. Okay? Be fair, be even-handed. That's what I say. But also, As is the case of that professor, there were exceptions. There's always people who spoke up, who didn't have to, that did anyway. And they should be looked at and applauded as well. Notably, a group of young Zionists called Netza Yeshachar, N-I-L-I, or the Eternal One of Israel Will Not Lie, a pro-British espionage group in Palestine at the time. They felt a strong sense of solidarity with the Armenian victims, even writing reports which they sent out to the international community in the hope of waking them up to the atrocities. What's the saying? Evil persists when good men do nothing. There was people that spoke up. Israelis spoke up back then. There's Israelis speaking up now. We just got to speak up for what's right, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it might affect our group. I use this example all the time. I was raised Irish Catholic. I will not blindly defend the Catholic Church. I will not do it. They knew about 6% of their priests are pedophiles. 6%. That's not a few bad apples. And they knew about it and covered it up and are still covering it up. They have lawyers within the Catholic Archdiocese whose goal is to discount victims. We're hearing it again now with Kavanaugh and Ford. Oh, why did she forget? Well, what took her 30 years to remember? Oh, boy. Because I've had repressed memories of abuse stay dormant for 4 decades. They're not fun when they come forward. They're not fun. And the Republicans now in defense of Kavanaugh are trying to discredit her. The lawyers for the Catholic Church try to discredit her. And it's the same thing. You might say, what does that have to do with this? It's the same thing in terms of the truth is hurting somebody's power. And they're not going to give it up. So they're going to lie and create, oh, you're nuts, or you're an anti-Semite, or whatever it is. You hate Kavanaugh, or boys will be boys. You hear they all say, that's the thing I like doing on the show. I like connecting the dots. When you threaten the powerful, look what they do. Look what they do. Catholic Church is very powerful. The Israeli government is very powerful. The American government is very powerful. See what happens? So it's not right, but there's people who stood up. I'm standing up. You're standing up. It ain't right. It's not right, not right. I don't care how many people Joe Paterno graduated at Penn State. Don't really care. He knew Jerry Sandusky was fucking boys in his locker room. So fuck him. And fuck you if you're an Israeli and you don't recognize the Armenian Genocide. Fuck you. How's that sound? Thanks for watching.